So today I want to walk you through the anatomy of a reaction. First, what do I mean by a reaction? I'm referring to an automatic, unconscious, negative response that you get when something happens. And the following is based on a true story. Imagine you get a text, maybe from your beloved or your mom, maybe your brother, your boss, you fill in the blank. So you read the text and then boom, you feel like you've been kicked in the gut. Your heart's aching, your stomach feels a bit sick, your mind races, feelings flood in, dismay, alarm, maybe anger, sorrow. To the untrained mind, this reaction is instant. The text itself is not overtly offensive. No neutral third party looking at it would see any problem at all. But your body feels something is very wrong, and your feelings arise in response to your body's reaction. All you know is your feelings are big and very uncomfortable. Why is your reaction so strong? We will look more at that later. So, what do you do when you read the text and this strong, unpleasant reaction arises? Do you instantly type an angry, defensive, or accusatory response and then just press send? Do you spend the rest of the day or week trapped in a cycle of relentless, unending variations of thoughts about what a victim you are? This is often what an untrained mind will do. I've done it plenty. Oh, and by the way, the person who sent you the text probably has no idea of the devastating impact it had on you. With this in mind, you can see how if you instantly react with anger and accusation, the other person will be quite surprised, maybe confused, possibly hurt or insulted, and might lash back at you. Since this is how an untrained mind operates, which is most of the world, it's easy to see how wars are started on all scales, from friends to family to countries. Do you wait for the person who sent the text to apologize or come around to your view? What if the person doesn't behave the way you want them to? What if they don't understand you or they think you are at fault? Expecting external situations to change so you will be happy is a fool's errand. It is a no-win situation. You have made your happiness dependent on factors you can't control. You're like a puppet. Not just in this situation, but with all situations, like COVID-19, for example. We cannot change the situation. This is what is. Accepting what is the way to have peace. Surrender. As Junpo says, you can argue with what is, but you will lose 100% of the time. The thing is, you don't have an untrained mind. You meditate. You have a regular practice. You have a drive, for whatever reason, to be free, to awaken from the delusion you're trapped in. You might have also done practices to work with the unconscious. Mondo Zen, energy work in the body, therapy, shadow work. Mondo Zen is a brilliant koan practice that deconstructs the ego with witnessing awareness and points out we have a choice with our reactions. Mondo Zen was created by Junpo Roshi Dennis Kelly of the Hollow Bones Rinzai Zen order, which of course is this order. Mondo Zen teaches us experientially that we are responsible for our reactions. And with meditation and practice, we can interrupt and transform negative emotional reactions. This seems like an impossible task, and it is, until you get some serious meditation practice under your belt. At least that was my experience. It was impossible for me at first. But back to the text, your text and your painful feelings. This is where, as they say, the rubber hits the road as a practitioner. This is it. This is why you've spent all those hours on a cushion, meditating, quieting the mind, having insights. Meditation gives you space, slows things down, brings distance between the part of you that is watching the reaction and the part reacting. Maybe you've meditated enough you can watch a reaction arise in real time before you take any action. This is moving towards mastery. You read the text, you notice the kick in your gut, the sick feeling in your stomach. The discomfort is so strong, you feel like you cannot stand being in your skin for another second. Wanting to get rid of this pain is common, particularly when you still believe you are a solid, separate self. Lots is at stake. You might feel anger and frustration at yourself for having this reaction again. Oh no, not this again. You want to feel good again. You want to get rid of this pain. You don't like it. Do you shove down the pain and pretend it isn't there? In fact, some Zen practitioners do exactly that through ignorance or misunderstanding. No, as Junpo would say, do not do this. This makes the problem worse, and it will keep erupting when triggered by the right conditions. There are plenty of Zen meditators or any meditators who have bypassed these feelings in this way. All is well when on the cushion, but they are sitting on a powder keg, and when out in the world and triggered, they will explode. Rejecting part of yourself is never the answer. I have discovered that the intensity of the reaction is a major clue. An intense reaction means an old hurt has been triggered. The stronger the reaction, the bigger the wounding. This also explains why you had such a strong visceral reaction to a seemingly inoffensive remark. Take note. Your reaction is not really about this text, but is built on past situations that this text is an echo of. This text is not the root cause of your pain. With Mondo Zen, once I had meditated enough to witness the reaction arise in real time, I wondered, okay, so I see my reaction arise. I intervene, maybe I choose another reaction, but then what? The reaction just keeps happening. How do I stop the reaction from arising in the first place? How do I pull out the roots? I asked Junpo this once, and he said, you don't. It will continue arising, but will lose its power over time and will arise less and less. I wondered about this answer because I actually had the experience of a really big, troublesome, habitual reaction that had been transformed after I got to the bottom of it, and it stopped arising completely. I soon learned more about this in Integral Zen with Doshin Roshi Michael Nelson, who is a student of Junpo's. And he started Integral Zen. Integral Zen is fiercely committed to truth and liberation and leaves no stone unturned. They have created a strong container that is direct and unflinching, but infinitely compassionate. What do I mean by a strong container? I mean the energy of the group is powerful, also unflinching and compassionate enough to hold practitioners as they do very deep and difficult work. The approach of integral Zen is that we must heal our relative self and restore it to wholeness while also realizing our true selfless nature. Both are important. Building on the insights gained in the Mondo Zen process, Integral Zen explores the deeper underlying causes of our reactions so they can be brought into the light and transformed. Once the root cause is seen, the reaction won't arise with the strength it used to, or it might not arise at all. Most of us have ego contractions and shadows that everyone can see but us. Just ask anyone around you. According to Doshin, shadows also create inauthenticity, negative karma, and suffering, including causing suffering to the people around us, of course. Shadows are usually caused by trauma and attachment issues from early life or later life, and or disowned parts of ourselves. Doshin and other integral Zen practitioners have a deep understanding of the medicines required to heal various woundings and can point students in the right direction. How do you know if you are in shadow? Here are some clues. You act defensively. You are deeply bothered by someone else, projecting qualities onto them that you have disowned in yourself. What you say is contradicted by what you do. You experience a deep sense of panic. Or another aspect, it feels like a matter of life and death. Very threatened. So, with your text, when you got your text, did you feel any of the above? Were you defensive? Were you just really irritated by that person? If so, you are in shadow. The next step is to bring your shadow into the light, which requires a dynamic approach. Humans are complicated, and we are not only influenced by our conditioned experience, but also by the collective mind, our chemistry, our physiology, karma, our ancestral line, archetypes, and more. The healing can happen through various mind and body therapies. Healing the ego is not the whole story if you want to reach your full potential as a human in the relative and absolute realms, though. A strong, healthy, whole ego is essential, but the ego's place in relation to the absolute must always be remembered if you want freedom. This is a very important point. Thoughts come from our ego. Ego mind is relative. The ego cannot find no self because no self is not contained within ego. Ego is the self and cannot compute no self. It cannot see the ocean it is swimming in until it becomes enlightened. This is why the meditation practice is essential. According to Doshin, as you meditate and learn to access selfless awareness will see and heal the issues once and for all. When seen and owned, they will resolve. Bringing the unconscious to the light brings tremendous freedom. Instead of being at the mercy of unpredictable, unconscious reactions based on the past, you are free to make a choice in this moment. This relative work also seems to be an accelerant on the spiritual path. When you start exploring your unconscious, you realize there's layer upon layer upon layer of issues going very deep. Where does it stop? When does the cleanup end? According to Junpo, it stops with the Big Bang, meaning it goes back to the start of manifestation. It never stops. Without right view, there is a danger here with danger of becoming addicted to diving deeply into the self, which can solidify the ego and feed the delusion of a solid, separate self. So, back to your text. Your strong reaction shows this is not the first time this wounding has been triggered. This is a habitual response. You have enacted it countless times. This response is your ego protecting you. Every time you respond to this reaction in a negative, dysfunctional way, you strengthen this pattern. It becomes an automatic habit, not connected to the present moment. You are trapped. So you're triggered by the text, you're watching your negative reaction arise, you have not taken action yet. What do you do now? Drop into stillness, but make space for the upset part. Don't make up stories about it. Just let it feel what it feels. Drop into this compassionate heart. What happens if you do this? There's relief, some space, quiet. The injured part is still there, the painful part, but much quieter. If you sit in stillness long enough, it will start to dissolve. If you go deep enough, the troubled state seems far away, as though you're watching it like a play. It's not real. Yet, when your ego is online, it is all that is real. The trouble is, most of us cannot sustain this state of selfless awareness. We leave the state and ego comes back online. We yell and swear or become passive aggressive or maybe collapse and shame ourselves. And then we feel terrible and we are right back in it. The wounded parts of us are actually quite powerful and can wreak havoc in our lives and keep us in the same situations with the same limited view. They also take a tremendous amount of energy to maintain and block our energy flow. How do you break this habitual cycle? You must lean into the discomfort and the pain and pause. Do not try to solve it. Bring it into the heart. Do not tell stories. It's extremely easy to get trapped in the stories and then you're a victim again. It's so habitual. It's just a story. It's not true. It is not fully based in this moment. The habitual reaction keeps the cycle alive and well. Every time you participate, you make it stronger, more entrenched. Make a choice that is not your habit, which will feel uncomfortable and possibly unsafe. Be curious. Treat the discomfort with care and compassion. Acceptance and space will lead to reintegration of the broken off parts of yourself. Accepting what arises is expressed by Rumi so nicely in The Guest House, his poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes up as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing. Invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. When you take an action that is against your habit, be prepared for a voice that will say you did something wrong, you've made a mistake, you have ruined everything. Expect this. This is just a story too. This is fear arising. You'd adopted the habitual response as a way to survive, probably when you were very young. Going against this is very threatening to the ego because it is how you survived. But the reaction you adopted doesn't fit now. What is the correct action in this moment? This is where you will find growth and ultimately freedom. So, what will you choose to do about your text? Notice your reaction. Let it arise. Give it space. This is the choice point where you can choose a different action. Pause here. Do not make up a story about what the text means. Do not assume anything until you have talked to the person. And when you talk to them, be neutral and open at the start until you get more information. Then you can choose what to do next. Perhaps you do need to react with some firmness or even heat. But if you do so, it will be conscious, clean, and by choice. And that is freedom. Learning this skill will change your life and have a positive impact on the people around you. This is how you can change the world. Bringing this practice to your life right now, with its relationships and messiness and complexity, that is a challenge and this is our work. This is your birthright. Claim it. Stop being a slave to your unconscious reactivity. Bring it to the light so it will transform and give you freedom. And each time you do, it will bring more freedom. Thank you.
Swaha. Thank you, Rose.